So today we're going to be doing a demo video of how to plant out your free Verge garden, which is an initiative by Jonathan Shree, which is about getting more edibles on the street. And so my name is Melissa, I'm from Jane Street Community Garden, and Jane Street Community Garden is going to be where you'll be picking up most of your items to get your garden going. So some of the stuff that you'll be picking up is some wood chip, which is going to be acting as your mulch, and there'll be about 2 to 3 bins of the wood chip that you'll be taking, and then we'll also have some organic, certified organic premium garden soil that we'll be using to plant your plants into. And so there will be about 4 to 5 bins worth of soil that you'll be taking, and then we will also have a range of different fruit trees that you can pick up, and some of them will be, they've got a whole heap of different varieties of citrus, so whether that be orange or lime, mandarin, kumquat. There'll also be guava, some pawpaw, papaya and mulberry. And then as part of the pack as well, there'll be some understory planting. So it'll be about 6 to 8 understory plants that people will be taking. These ones that we have chosen, they're all perennial species, which means you just need to plant it once and they will continue to grow all year round. So we chose these because they're super low maintenance and hardy. Some perennial greens, so like Brazilian spinach and sambung lettuce and Suriname spinach. So these are really great because they're all just spinach substitutes, but again, they're perennial, so you just plant them once. So all you have to do is harvest. You don't need to keep planting them every season. Like chives, so it's kind of like an onion replacement, your common sage. Comfrey we will have as well. This one's really good to incorporate because once it grows you can rip off the leaves and then drop that as mulch under your citrus trees or any tree that you're putting in there. And this is really great because it's a mineral accumulator, and so when you return that to the soil it's kind of adding more nutrition to your system. Like lemon balm, which is really beautiful to make some herbal tea out of, really good for stress and anxiety. And then your common like oregano. So some of the tools that would be really handy for the Verge plant out is a shovel and a mattock. So this will be really handy for breaking up the grass and pulling it up. We will have some down at Jane Street Community Garden that you can borrow, but also there's the tool library has generously offered some of their tools that people can use during the day. The first stage of planting out your Verge garden will be removing the grass. It's really important because the grass roots will compete with your trees or your understory plants, so you really need to get them out of the garden. Something else that can be really handy, which is we're not providing, but if you can find a free resource, you can either use like broken up core flute or some plastic, or even like an old pallet crate that you can break down. And these are really good if when you dig out the grass, stick this in, and it's just creating a barrier between the grass and your garden, which is really going to reduce your maintenance. So the dimensions of the garden bed that we're recommending is about 1.5 meters, and then just whatever the width is that you've got on your Verge path. And we've got a template that plans for 2 of these, and we recommend planting one in one section and then leaving a gap and planting another. It's just making sure that there's some access to get to the footpath with cars stopping on the road. So the first step is going to be to remove the grass.
I'm just going to get in here, dig this up. Right. Might find some buried treasure.
So an alternative is just to use a shovel to remove the grass, and we only need to go to the depth of about 10 centimeters to remove that off. Except for when we're putting in the citrus, then you're going to go a little bit deeper to about 25 centimeters.
So if you're digging down and you get to the stage where it's quite rocky and the soil's not very nice, suggestion is to just not dig too deeply, but add more topsoil on top. So there's plenty of topsoil available if you need to add more.
And then we started prepping the holes for where we're going to plant out. So the one in the middle is where we're going to put one of our fruit trees. And the way we've kind of dug the hole is rather than just dig a hole where just this fits in like that, actually dig it out a little bit so it scoops. And it's particularly important if it's really heavy clay soil. If we just dig like a narrow place to put the plant, it can just accumulate with water and that can waterlog your tree. So having it nice and dug out. These ones here, we just kind of broke the soil a little bit. That's where we're going to put our understory planting. And then for these core flute, we just dug that down so that can be almost in level with the grass, and that's just going to stop that grass from growing into the garden. So then we're just going to start filling it with the topsoil through that whole section. And what we want to do is fill the holes that we've dug, but also start building it up a little bit. So we've got like nice, rich organic soil in which to plant to as the new topsoil. So this soil is really high in organic matter, so it looks like a lot, but it's actually going to reduce quite a bit as it starts breaking down. So when you put it in, like stand on it and start compacting it a little bit, just because it is so light. It's good to put a whole heap of water down first, because then it's building like a nice water reservoir that it can drink when it's establishing. And then let's chuck them in. And so generally with this one's not too bad, but sometimes they can be a little bit root bound. And if it is, just get in and just loosen up the roots a little bit so that the roots don't continue to spiralize around. And then if you want to hold them there. And the main thing is when you're planting, make sure that the soil comes up to here. Don't bury it. Make sure the stem doesn't go underneath the ground. So you're going to lift him up just a little bit. And with your citrus, it will start fruiting within the first year. Because it's grafted, it means it's dwarfed, but it means that it actually thinks it's a big tree. But for the first year or two, when it starts flowering and getting its fruit, you do actually want to take them off, because what's actually going to happen is if they turn into fruit, because it's a small tree, and if a big fruit grows on it, it can actually snap the branches. So technically for the first year or two, you don't want to be harvesting, and then the following years, then you'll get some abundant crops. So now we're planting your understory plants. So we're putting in a rosemary and a Suriname spinach. When you come down on Saturday as well, we can give you some tips as well of how big they're going to grow, because you want to space them accordingly. So both of these will probably fill in this space. So you might only need 2 understory planting, or maybe putting another smaller one in front of the citrus. And so this guy is not root bound at all, so we can just stick him straight in.
Okay, we've got some ground covers here. This is lemon balm, this is oregano. Now these are going to be spreading quite low, that's why this one is closest to the footpath, because it's not going to get too far over the concrete and people are going to trip on it.
So all of the ones that we've provided, max they'll grow is about 800. So we've chosen these so that, they're not going to be spilling over in the footpath, so they can be easily maintained. And so you might want to think about where you're placing them. So as Rudy said, like the shorter ones could go directly underneath the citrus, whereas if they're a bit bigger, then putting them in the middle to the outsides of the Verge plant out. Stages, we're going to be putting the wood chip down. The reason we're putting that wood chip down is that it's going to protect the soil from drying out from the sun. This wood chip as well will slowly break down over time, and that's also going to feed your plants. In regards to watering, probably the best way is once you've settled this up, give it a really good water as a good start, and then as ongoing maintenance, I probably recommend watering, particularly if there's no rain, maybe even once a day for a week, and then for the second week you can start tapering off to like once every 2 or 3 days, and eventually once this is established, watering once every 2 weeks or once even a month would be sufficient. And so this is just a demonstration of one, and as part of that Verge plant out, you can do 2 of these. And again, you can space them however you want. So doing one 1.5 meter verge, and then creating a little bit of space and finding another area as well. You can replicate it. How pretty does it look? So most of the plants that we've recommended, they're probably going to max grow to like 2 meters. So it's not going to be so much of an issue with the overhead lines. And depending on where you put them as well, depending on how narrow your verge is, you can also prune them to the shape that is appropriate. So if this starts growing and a big branch starts coming on the footpath, you can always prune that one off. And so then you can just encourage the citrus to take more of that kind of form across the verge. In regards to ongoing maintenance, like fertilizer can be really handy, and you can get heaps of organic fertilizers that you can use as well, and you could do that like once every 2 months, and that will just keep the plant healthy and ensure good fruit production. Stopping.